Good evening everyone, welcome back to UndercoverETuk. Hope everyone has had a restful weekend. Guys, in the UK it is peeing down with rain, really heavy winds and rains out there. So I fully expect less videos this week. I know it's going to be an up and down week with the weather, but if you can, get a tripod, take it back a bit, film from within your home and just see if you can capture anything. You never know. I've been thinking a lot about this tree line and why they're coming out from there. Well, the triangular shaped UFO, why did that shoot across the tree line and then 24 minutes later shoot from behind the trees up into the sky? Why did that happen? I've been asking myself that question, and I just feel like it could only be one of a few things, right? So in my opinion, there's some kind of highway. You could say a highway or an A road or a B road. There's a road that they use, and it just so happens that they go through that pathway. That's, you know, whether it be through the earth, and I think that might be the case, they may actually go through the earth. I don't know. That's option A. Option B, I feel like they hold up in certain areas that they know are safe, and it just so happens that tree line, it's not a massive area, but it's an area that's not accessible to us. Like, it's just too bushy, you can't really get in there. You'd have to go in there with a machete to make room for, you know, make a pathway for you to get in, right? It's not really accessible. It's only a small area, but because it's quiet, these objects that may be passing may hold up in certain areas. That might be an area in which they hold up in. So that's B. And then you've got C, which I'm a little bit on the fence with, but C, they know I'm actively looking and they're showing themselves right on the spot where I decided to film, like it's intentional. I don't know about that. But I feel like they're the three options we've got at the moment. Let me know if there is another theory as to why I might be getting objects over this tree line 200 yards away from my window. And like I say, there's a nice bit of open space beyond the tree line as well. So beyond that patch, with that inaccessible patch, there's a field that goes back, and then there's woodland, and it's publicly accessible, the field. People walk it all the time. You've seen my video of me walking back from the field towards my hotspot area, my tree line, and I had these objects zipping across the fence, coming from the sky, coming from me as well. So yeah, I've been thinking a lot about it, and I don't know, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Today we're going to go over the brain, okay? So I've been doing a little bit of research. I'm going to just touch base with this. We're going to watch some videos on it. We're going to get into it, guys. As always, like and subscribe to the channel. We do need your support. Support the public's evidence. Support public disclosure. Let's go. All right, guys, I've pulled off some useful information that I'm going to read back to you. Then we're going to go over a video. And then we're going to talk a little bit about UAP evidence and why this sort of matters and why it's even being brought up on my channel, right? Because I'm a UFO researcher and UAP public disclosure person. So you're probably wondering, what's the brain got to do with any of this? Your brain is not a passive mirror reflecting reality, first of all, okay? So what you're looking at is not necessarily reality. It's what your brain imagines reality to look like. And that is a fact, guys. If you want to dive into it, look it up. There's neuroscience on it. There's a lot of information on it. It may sound mystical, but it is grounded in hard neuroscience, guys. Again, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a neuroscientist for sure. I kind of knew this existed, and a friend of mine decided to send some information. I said, see, it does exist. I hadn't done my research on it at that point, but I knew that the brain tries to build an image, a picture, an explanation for whatever you're seeing, hearing, that you can't quite understand. And you will leave in a split moment believing something because your brain's told you that's something it must be. And that's not necessarily a good thing. It's just a survivability mechanism. Okay? Why is it not a good thing? Because your brain may trick you into thinking something that it's not. And this is where there are two sides to every coin, guys. So the brain's instinct to seek answers is deeply rooted in our evolutionary history. Our ancestors relied on their ability to interpret signs and patterns in nature to survive. This instinct is still present in us today, and as we understand why things happen, from everyday events to the most significant ones in our lives, at a neurobiological level, our brain consistently seeks to close open loops when faced with situations that lack either clear meaning, generating discomfort, anxiety, or stress. This search for meaning can become an obstacle in our emotional and mental well-being, leading to cognitive overload, anxiety, and over-interpretation of situations. Like I said, there's two sides to the coin. Yes, the brain will play tricks on certain things will happen, like, for example, a Dragon UAP will pass your camera faster than anything that's passed your camera all day, okay? And your brain will instantly go, that must have been a bird or a bug. It must have been, because what else could it be? Your reality doesn't really understand or know UFOs yet, even if you truly believe deep down within your heart. You know, the reality is it's not used to seeing it. It's going to say it can only be two options, not three. That's the defense mechanism that we're talking about here. And there's a lot of information, like I say, online, guys. Check out neuroscience. Check out all the information on this. The brain will play tricks just to keep the day ticking over, just to get you through your day. And that doesn't mean it's going to tell you the truth. And this is why we say some people like living in blissful ignorance, because some people are quite happy to just have the brain tell them what to do. You've got to ask yourself, guys, I guess, do you want to be in control of you, or do you want to be the sheep following the other sheep with the masses? Because this is where I'm going with this. And I decided a long time ago what I was going to do and how I was going to behave and how I was going to control myself. And this is why I get into this, because when we essentially changed our behaviours, our consciousness, our perception on all this stuff, you realise what matters and what doesn't. What mattered to me was getting this information out there, educating people that this is a real thing. What we're seeing are real. It's just, it is literally your brain telling you it's got to be something else. Instantly. I'm going to give you some everyday examples in this next video. Really, it does explain really well what I'm talking about, guys. And it's just everyday stuff. So let's check it out and let me know your thoughts in the comments.
You may not realize it, but your brain actually processes information in two very distinct ways. Like when you look at this photo, you instantly know she has blonde hair, is visibly angry, and likely has some choice words to yell. Without any effort, you experienced fast thinking. But if you look at the following problem, something different happens. Sure, you immediately know it's a multiplication problem, and you knew you could solve it if you had the energy, but didn't. If you do try, your muscles will tense, your pupils will dilate, and your heart rate will increase. Now, you've experienced slow thinking. These two systems of fast and slow thinking dictate much of our perception and reaction in life. Take these lines for example. It's clear that they're different lengths, but if you measure them, they're actually the exact same length. Even now that you know, System 1 or your fast thinking can't stop seeing the illusion because it acts automatically. A similar effect is seen here. Which figure is the largest? Again, they're all the same size, but the suggestion of perspective and depth causes your System 1 to interpret the picture as three-dimensional, even though it's on a flat two-dimensional surface. It's making quick work of the available information, and so your conscious System 2, or slow thinking, must compensate after the fact and choose not to believe your intuition or instinct. Decide. Listen to the following puzzle. A bat and a ball cost $1.10. The bat costs $1 more than the ball. How much does the ball cost? Chances are your System 1 intuition was yelling 10 cents, but this appealing System 1 answer we know is wrong. In fact, the correct answer is 5 cents. Even if you worked out the correct answer, you likely thought of 10 cents along the way. System 1 is trying to work out an answer as quickly and seamlessly as possible, which is extremely beneficial in everyday life. If every activity required full mental effort, it would be exhausting. But knowing this allows us to understand that not all of our first impressions are correct. How many animals of each kind did Moses take into the ark? So few people detect what is wrong with this question that it's been dubbed the Moses illusion. In fact, Moses took no animals, Noah did. Again, our brain invests as little resources as necessary so that things run quickly and smoothly. Because Moses is not abnormal in the biblical context, System 1 unconsciously detects an association between Moses and ark and quickly accepts the question. In a similar way, System 1 generates context without you knowing. Reading each of the following may seem fairly simple. A, B, C, Anne approached the bank, and 12, 13, 14. But your brain actually interpreted these ambiguous statements without you ever knowing. You could have read it as A, 13C or 12, B, 14, but your brain created the context unconsciously. Also, you likely imagined a woman with money on her mind walking towards a building with tellers. But if the sentence before this was, they were floating gently down the river, the entire scene would have changed because bank is no longer associated with money. Without an explicit context, System 1 quickly generates one based on previous experience. In this case, you've likely visited more banks than rivers, and so the context is resolved accordingly. This ties into a concept called priming. For example, if I said wash, how would you complete this word fragment? Most would see soap, but had I just shown you the word eat, you'd be more likely to see soup. In this way, both eat and wash prime your thoughts. Though System 2 likes to think that it's in charge and knows what's going on, the truth is that priming effects have even been shown to affect and modify behavior. These arise in System 1, and you have no conscious access to them.
Alright, so that was ASAP science, and my god, we do need some science ASAP. We need some information, we need the truth, guys. Guys, give them some love, and make sure you got the notification bell ticked as well, for me and them. There's so much information on this. I don't want to overload you guys. It is incredible stuff to believe and know and realise that actually our brain is trying to trick us all the time just to try and get us through our day. And it's really important that we understand that, because I have seen so many people when it comes to the UFO topic looking at evidence and just passing it off. Even the UFO researchers, without realising it, they're just like, yeah, it must be this. And I'm sat there without even having done any of this research at the time. You know, this I'm talking years ago, a year ago, 6 months ago, last week. I see it in the comments as well. Far and few between now, because a lot of people that watch the channel are fully woken up to this and their perception is changing. And that's the goal. It's public disclosure. It's all about your evidence. Get it into me. And that's why we do what we do, guys, because it's all about changing the perception, changing the public's opinion on UAP, and educating everyone. We can't do that unless we understand what structure we've got to work with, what hurdles we've naturally got to work with, and this is a big part of it, guys. Unfortunately, these things travel extremely fast. They're using abilities that are completely cartoon to us, honestly. It looks like something crazy. The only way we're really going to understand this, if we accept the fact that there are things that hold us back when we're looking at the evidence, because, you know, we've got to take everything into account. And I think a lot of people don't start taking these things into account because they're just written off, when in reality everything should be analysed further. We should be ticking off each box until we get down to verification. This is the way it needs to be. Once we verify that the objects are real and we verify that this kind of life exists, that's when perception will really change. Why do we want it, guys? Well, why does anyone want technology? We as people would want it to better our lives, protect the planet, protect our future, right? And that's what we should want it for. Not for wars. Shouldn't be testing this stuff on our own people, on our own land, so that if one day we need to go to war, we've got it. We should be bettering our lives. Food for thought. If you live in a street and you know your neighbours and you're happy with your neighbours, you're happy with the way life is, you know everyone around you, you feel safe, your family feels safe, and then your leader opens up the borders to your country, and all of a sudden, 2 years' time, you don't know your neighbours, you don't feel safe. Bear with me here. Let's say that happens, okay? It does happen, but let's say it has happened, right? Do you then want to get to know your neighbours so that you've got that safety for the future? You know who they are? You know what they're about? Of course you would, you know? Because if you identify one of your new neighbours as a thief and a violent person, you're going to deal with them fast, right? If you've bought a home there and you've got to live there 24/7, you're going to try and deal with the problem quickly so that your family, your possessions, everything is safe, right? So imagine having very primitive life, but all of a sudden we start dabbling in someone else's street, you know? And without even realising it, without the majority of the public, of the population of the planet actually realising it, we can actually cause all sorts of problems for other life forms just by acting, without even interacting. Just by acting and doing things the way we think are correct, we could upset people. We could upset entities, living organisms. And I'm not sure that these beings that live in this neighbourhood that we're now starting to step into are going to allow us to F things up, to disrupt their life and their security. Can't see it. And so you've got to understand that if 3i Atlas, for example, is technological, then they're probably not here to blow us up, guys. They're probably here to check us, you know, to say, hey, you're getting a bit advanced, you're stepping into our world, you can't just be doing stuff, okay, because you're going to affect our way of life. And I think that might be what be happening here. Let me know your thoughts on all of it in the comments. If you've got any interesting links that you want to share regarding the brain, please do. I'll leave my own links in the description below, guys, so please check them out. There's a lot of information regarding the brain and why it tries to play tricks on us. And it does. Although it's trying to process something that you understand, it is trying to trick you as well, just to get you through your day. So guys, like and subscribe as always. It's free to do. Support the public's evidence. Support disclosure. Thank you so much. Take care. All the best. I'll see you on the next one.